Welcome to the Handy Hudsonite. Today we're going to look at how to make a latte at home just using a basic espresso machine. Now I picked up this espresso machine at a garage sale a couple of years ago for only 10 bucks. And this is a good time of year to start looking around at sales like that. A lot of people are unloading old appliances and you might just find a great deal on one like this. This is a Starbucks espresso maker, and it's been great for us in making good quality coffee at home. And my daughter does work at Starbucks, so we get a lot of free coffee beans, which is another bonus. So this will show you how to make coffee at home that you can enjoy without spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year buying handcrafted coffee at cafes and spending a lot of extra money on coffee that you could be making much cheaper at home. So I'm going to show you what you're going to need and how exactly to make the coffee. Okay, so here's my setup with my espresso machine and exactly what you'll need in order to make an at-home latte. Of course, you're going to need a cup, and I like working with larger cups. 16 ounce is good just because you want room for both the coffee and the steamed milk in there. You also need this part of the coffee maker. You need to have to be able to put the coffee grounds in here, and then this will go up into your espresso maker. I'll show you exactly how to put in the coffee grounds and how to compact them properly. Of course, coffee grounds. Now, if you have a coffee grounds machine that can do this automatically, it's great. You just set it to the espresso setting. If not, I actually use this little coffee grinder, and just what I do is I grind it for about 20 to 25 seconds, and that generally gives me espresso ground grade coffee grounds. And of course a scoop to get the coffee grounds here into your coffee ground holder. And then you're going to need some sort of a steaming container. This is a stainless steel one. I actually picked this one up at, I believe, a garage sale or Goodwill, so this works really well. But you could use something else if you didn't have this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with, we'll assume that we've already ground our coffee. So let's get our coffee grounds into our cup here. Now personally I like to put my coffee grounds in here up to the lip of this and kind of brush them towards the center to even them out. Now, I forgot to mention that you're going to need some way of pressing these coffee grounds, because you want these nice and firm when it goes into the machine. So you can buy a nice tamper, and I actually used to have one, but then I don't know what happened to it. So I just use another container, a holder, because it's about the same size, and this does a good job of pressing down the coffee grounds. Press it down, and then I like to give it a little tap and then press it down again. You don't have to do it really hard, and that usually presses it down pretty firmly. So now we'll put that in here and then put it into our machine. Just slip it up and slide it into place. So now we have that. And I forgot to mention, you want to turn on your machine and let it heat up for several minutes before you use it. And this particular machine, I like to actually touch the area here where the water's going to pass through the coffee grounds, and if it's hot, really hot to the touch, then it's ready. Sometimes when this light comes on to say it's ready, it's not actually hot enough. And in this particular model too, this is where you add the extra water on top, and yours, depending on the model, will have a place. You want to make sure you have enough water in the machine to run the coffee through, because if you run out, then your machine gets empty with water and it takes a while for it to replenish itself. Okay, so now we want to get our coffee mug, and as you can see, this is a little too small for this, so what I like to do is actually just take one of these components out, which is perfectly fine, and put it here. So we will now run this, and I like to fill this probably about a quarter to a third full. Now, this isn't a professional grade espresso maker, so I'm not going to get the strongest espresso pull like you would at a shop, but that's fine. It's still great quality coffee for home. So let me run this and get this coffee cup filled to the proper level. Okay, so we have the cup now filled about a third full, maybe a little or around there. So what we want to do on my machine is I want to press in the steam button here to engage the steaming device for the machine. And this steaming wand over here, be careful, because this can actually get very hot, especially once it warms up. So this is going to warm up. It's going to take a couple minutes to warm up the steaming component as it switches the water source over to that in order to boil the water to steam it. What I like to do is stick a cup. You can also use some sort of large towel. It may not be quite as loud. The cup can be a little bit louder. And I like to purge the steam wand, because especially if you haven't used this in a while, it can tend to clog up with milk. And after I'm done steaming, you'll see that I'll actually wipe off the steam wand, because you want to get that extra milk off of there, because it does tend to calcify. I do have a little bit of calcification on here that I'll have to clean up sometime. So let me just purge this wand a little bit. So I like to do a process of purging it a few times, just to make sure I've got a good consistent steaming sound. And my particular model can take a little bit of time to get this purged out the way I like it. The higher end models, of course, will be much quicker. As you can see, it kind of dies off and then it comes back again. Okay, I think that's good for the steaming piece. So we'll get our container, and feel free to use any type of milk or non-dairy beverage that you would like to use. And I'm using 2% milk. That seems to steam pretty well. Now, I've only filled this up about, I might have actually put a little bit too much in. I fill it up about a third full to close to half, just because when this steams, the milk's going to expand, and you don't want to fill it up too much, or it'll actually expand to the point where it's overflowing, or you don't get it fully steamed because there's too much milk in the container. Okay, so I'm going to start steaming this, and the key to steaming this, I'm going to talk you through it here because it's allowed when I do it, is you want to make sure that you keep the wand on the tip of the milk without it sounding like it's that there's air there. So it's kind of a delicate balance to really get that tip just deep enough below the surface of the milk, so that it's steaming it properly without it. Because if you have it too high up and it's just steaming the air, then what's going to happen is your milk's going to come out all bubbly with too many bubbles, and it's not going to have a consistent expansion to it. And so with my machine, it takes a couple of minutes to steam this, so I'm just going to cut out to the point where it's done. I'll show you a little bit of the beginning of the steaming process, and then I'll cut to the end. Okay, so we're done steaming here, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make sure that you purge this wine, wipe off any excess milk, and when you're done with the steaming, I like to tamp it a couple times and maybe give it a couple swirls, just so that you can kind of get the consistency work throughout the milk or whatever beverage you're steaming. Okay, so you can see the milk here, that it's steamed pretty consistently. And what you want to do is take your coffee. Now this would be a good time if you wanted to add in any sort of chocolate. You could add this. You could also, there's a lot of chocolate additives for coffee that you can use, that you can stir in, and I like to put those in first and stir it through the coffee before I pour in the milk. So the way you do this is you want to be able to pour it in slowly and consistently, I should say. And this particular pour, you'll see that all kind of the lather comes at the end. Now, of course, this isn't any sort of latte art, which I don't have a whole lot of experience doing, but it's still going to give you the consistency of a good latte at home, and it's going to taste great, knowing that you made it yourself and that you saved yourself a lot of money. And you consider the amount of money it took to make this cup of coffee, or this latte, would be the cost of the fraction of the milk that came out of the carton, whatever chocolate you added in, and then the coffee itself. So you're easily looking at under $1, and consider that you're going to be spending probably $3 to $5 on a similar beverage. Granted, it's probably going to be made a little bit better at a cafe, but you know, the $2 to $4 savings that you're getting at home is well worth it. So that's how you can easily and cheaply make coffee at home using a simple espresso machine like this. And I should mention too that these cabinets were painted, and we refinished these a couple of years ago, and I have a video that I will link up here that you can watch that will show you how you can refinish cabinets without even using sandpaper. But I appreciate you watching this. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get more tips and reviews like this one, so that you can get the job done. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.